So the first thing you want to do before you go flying your drone is learn the controller. And this is going to come more naturally to some rather than others. If you're part of the Xbox or PlayStation generation, you're going to be able to pick up this controller and fly the drone straight away. If you're not, it's going to take a little more practice to get that muscle memory into your thumbs. Regardless, you're going to want to know what all these buttons do, and in this video I'm going to go over everything that this controller does, what each one of these buttons does, and how to use the joysticks. Let's jump right in. So the controller I am demonstrating this on is this controller. It's the controller that comes with the DJI Mini 2. But if you don't have a DJI Mini 2, fear not, because this controller is exactly the same as the controller that's on the Air 2S and the Mavic 3. And largely the buttons I'm going to show you translate into any controller that you're going to use when you go to fly your drone, especially the joysticks. Now, the stick mode I am using when I am talking about the joysticks for this controller is stick mode 2. This is the default stick mode, and if you want to change it to this or change it to something else, changing the stick mode changes what happens when you press the joysticks in different directions. You can do that within the settings of the DJI Fly app. But for this tutorial, I'm going to be talking about the sticks in relation to stick mode 2. So first let's look at the joysticks, as that's what you're going to use to fly your drone about the air. Now, when you first look at your controller, the joysticks aren't going to be attached. They're in the bottom of the controller. So what you want to do is you want to pop them out and they simply just screw on. So let's first look at the left stick, this stick here, and talk about what happens when you move this stick in different directions. So the first thing is if you push the left stick up. And this is the simplest move of them all. This is going to make your drone go up in the air. It's going to make it ascend. So when you push the left stick up, your drone is going to go up higher into the air. And reversely, if you pull it down, the drone is going to descend. It's going to lower in the air. So push it up for the drone to go up, and pull it down for the drone to go down. The drone will remain stationary in the air when you let go of the stick, so don't worry about that. And it will not move in position as you push this stick up and down. It will simply either ascend or descend. Now, when you push this stick left, the drone is going to rotate. And it's going to rotate on the spot. So by pushing that left stick left, the drone is going to rotate left. And again, reversely, if you push the stick right, the drone is going to rotate right. Now, again, it's important to note the drone will not move left or right positionally in the air. It will simply rotate left or right. So that's the left stick. Now let's take a look at the right stick. Pushing this right stick forward will make the drone fly forward. So what do I mean by that? If you push that right stick forward, the drone will fly forwards like this in the air. Again, reversely, if you pull it back, the drone will fly backwards. So if you pull it back, the drone will fly backwards in the air. Now, if you push the stick left or right, let's talk about left first, the drone will slide left. So if I pull a stick left, the drone will slide left in the air like this. And if I pull it right, the drone will slide right in the air like this. Now, when it comes to flying, it's a combination of these movements which are going to allow you to move your drone in the air and to do cinematic moves. For example, if you were doing an orbit, you would slide the drone right by pressing the right stick right, but you would also rotate the drone left at the same time by pulling the left stick left. If you wanted to do a push forward and rise up, you would start the drone moving upwards in the air, ascending by pushing the left stick up, and you would also have it move forwards in the air by pushing the right stick forwards, and that would make it fly forwards, so you would get a movement like this. So it's a combination of them stick movements which will allow you to do cinematic drone moves. Now, if you want to take the drone off, you can also do that using the sticks. You don't have to use the auto hover mode. You can do that by pulling these two sticks downwards and inwards like that, and that will start the propellers off the drone. Once they have started, you can then press up in the left stick and the drone will take off up into the air. If you want to land it, either if you want to land it on the ground or land it on your hand, simply either hover the drone above your hand or above where you want to land it, and hold down on the left stick for a few seconds, and the drone will start to land on the ground, or it will start to lower down into your hand for you to catch. So that's the sticks of the controller. Now let's take a look at this wheel on the back of the controller. And I get asked this question all the time by friends who have just picked up a drone. What does this do? And it's really simple. It controls the gimbal of the drone. So the camera here has the ability on the gimbal to look down or look up, and it can be any degree of that. And you control that by using this gimbal wheel here. So if you move it one way, the camera will look up towards the horizon, and if you move it the other way, the camera will move down towards the ground. And again, it's a combination of this gimbal wheel and the sticks allow you to pull off cinematic drone moves. So now let's take a look at the buttons and functions available on the controller outside of the joysticks and the gimbal wheel. The first is this button here, and this button actually a lot of people don't know has a dual purpose. Many people presume it's just a return to home button, but it's also a pause or brake button. So I'll start with that. If for whatever reason when you're flying you need to stop the drone immediately in the air and have it just hover in place. Say somebody comes up to talk to you and you're just not sure what's going on, you don't feel comfortable, and you need to stop the drone in the air, you simply just press this once, and no matter what the drone is doing, it will immediately come to a stop and it will hover in place. And it will hover there until you press that button again, and then you can continue flying it. So it's kind of like a safety pause. You know, if you're flying towards something and you think, oh, I might hit that, press that button and the drone will stop as quickly as possible and hover in the air. It is also a return to home button. So if you want to bring the drone back to you without flying it manually, if you've maybe lost sight of it in the air for whatever reason and you want to bring it home, then you press and hold this button, the return to home will kick in and the drone will automatically return home to you. It will fly back to you and it will land in place where you took it off. Or as it comes back towards you, you can take over at any point in time and then start flying. So in that scenario I gave where you lost sight of it and you want to bring it back within range where you can see it, simply press and hold this button to initiate return to home. And then when it comes back within range and you can see it, you can stop the return to home and start flying again. A really useful feature. Now, something you do want to do before using return to home is make sure in the DJI Fly app settings you have the return to home height set above the highest obstacle or building in your area. The reason you want to do this is because when return to home kicks in, it's going to ascend up to the height that's set in the app, and then it's going to fly back to you. And if you have that return to home height set too low or lower than the tallest buildings around you, there is a chance that it might hit into them obstacles or buildings. So if you've got a building near you that's 50 meters in height, then make sure you set the return to home height to something like 60 so it will safely rise up above that and fly over it when it's returning home to you. The next button is this button in the middle, and this is the flight mode button. And here you can change between cine mode, normal mode and sport mode. So cine mode or cinematic mode is the slowest mode for the drone. It's going to slow down the movements of the drone when you make inputs on the sticks and the gimbal wheel. And this is the smoothest and slowest mode for you to get the most cinematic shots. I use this all the time when getting them really smooth and cinematic shots with the drone, and it really makes it easy to get smooth movements with the sticks. Then you have normal mode. So this is in the middle between sport mode, which is the fastest, I'll get on that in a second, and cine mode. So if you're just flying around, trying to get into position, it's great for that. Or if you're up higher and you want to convey movement, sometimes cine mode can be a little too slow. So if you're up at max altitude and you're flying forward, sometimes you don't really get a sense of that motion with cine mode because it's too slow. So I actually do use normal mode as well when getting cinematic shots in those circumstances when I want to get cinematic footage. It's a nice speed and it's still controllable with the sticks to get really smooth shots. Unlike sport mode. So sport mode is that mode that you use when you want to get your drone into position as quickly as possible. You know, you maybe want to get your drone high up in the air and over a point of interest as quickly as possible so you can use the most battery to get your cinematic shots. Sport mode is what you're going to want to use. It's the fastest mode. The only downside to sport mode is it's hard to get smooth movement with the sticks because everything becomes so much faster. So I only really use sport mode whenever I want to get the drone into position quickly or bring it back to me as quickly as possible. Next, we have the power button. Some people actually find this tricky when they initially get the drone. They're not sure of the process. They just press it and wonder why the drone's not turning on. It's a short press followed by a long press. All the lights go green and that's it on. To turn it off, it's the same again. Short press followed by a long press and it turns off. It seems so simple to people like us who've been flying drones for a long time. But if you're new to this and you're watching this video and you've just got your drone, the first time you try that, it will confuse you. I guarantee it, because like all of us, we don't read the instructions when we really should. Next, we have two buttons on the top right and top left of the controller. So the first one is the switch camera button. So this will change the camera mode. If you're in video mode and you press this, it will change to photo mode. And if you're in photo mode and you press this, it will change to video mode. Really simple. Then we have the function button. Now by default, this is going to change your gimbal either straight to the horizon or either straight down. So if you press it once, the gimbal will go to the horizon. If you press it again, it will look straight down. And then if you press it again, it'll go back up to the horizon, and that over and over. And this is really useful if you want to just get your gimbal back up to horizon as quickly as possible, or if you want to change between a horizon or top-down shot really quickly without using the gimbal wheel, you can just press this function button. But you can actually go into the DJI app settings and change what that function button does. And there's a few modes. You can either have it toggle map or live view. You can set it between gimbal follow and FPV mode. You can have it go into advanced camera settings, and you can set it to AE lock and unlock. So this button is customizable, but by default, and I use it this way, is to center the gimbal on the horizon or straight down as quickly as possible. Lastly, we have this button on the back, and what this button does is if you're in photo mode and you press it, it will take a photo, and if you're in video mode, it will start recording and stop recording. So a really nice straightforward button. So that's the controller. Now the last thing I want to touch on is the first time you go flying and you're trying to get the muscle memory off these sticks and the controller. Like I say, if you're part of the Xbox and PlayStation generation, you would be surprised by how quickly you'll pick this up. Even if you're not, it's very intuitive and you'll pick it up very quickly, but make sure that you take the time to practice so that the sticks become muscle memory. What I always tell friends is, you want to get to the point where you're capable of flying the drone without really thinking, okay, if I press this stick up, it's going to go up. Ascend, if I press this stick forward, it's going to fly forward. You want to get to the stage where you can just intuitively move the sticks to make the drone do what you want without overthinking it in your head. That's when you know that you've gained that muscle memory and you've got to grips with the sticks. And where's the best place to do that? Well, I recommend you head out to a big, large, open field with absolutely no obstacles. And I also recommend you fly in cine mode, which is the slowest mode, just so the drone's moving around slowly in the air as you get used to the sticks. The benefits of a big open field is there's no obstacles for you to hit. Chances are the first couple of times you fly your drone, you're going to crash it. It's inevitable, it just happens. And the drones are really resilient, you know, unless you fly it full speed into a tree, you're probably going to come away with a completely fine drone, or maybe a propeller you need to change. But if you're in a big open field, the chances of that happening are much, much less. If you take this out to a forest for the first time, guaranteed you're going to hit a tree. So the first time you're flying this drone and you're building up that muscle memory, you're learning the sticks, go to a big, large open football field, somewhere where you're going to have no risk of damaging your drone or hitting something else. And you just want to go out and practice taking off, practice doing maneuvers, practice orbiting your drone manually, practice doing a push forward fly up, practice trying to get cinematic shots. And you might think, well, what use is a cinematic shot of a football field? But the movements that you will practice are the movements you will do when you go out to a point of interest. And so if you learn that movement, get it muscle memory, and then the first time you go out to a point of interest, you'll be getting cinematic shots straight out of the gate. A little practice goes a long, long way. And the last thing is, I recommend whenever you're out practicing your drone, you practice using the return to home, so that you can build confidence in it, because the signal and connection of the DJI Mini 2 is absolutely fantastic, but it is not 100% all the time. There are times when you fly behind a tree or you fly too far away and you lose connection and your screen will go black and the drone will go into return to home mode. And the first time that happens, it's extremely nerve-wracking. You know, will this drone come back to me? And it does. It always comes back within range. You can take over control manually, or it will come back down and land. But if you're out in that football field and you're practicing, just press return to home, watch the drone come back to you. And that way when you're out in the field and return to home kicks in because of signal loss or for whatever reason the first time, you're a lot more confident that that drone is going to come back to you. So that's it. That's the controller explained. Go out, have fun with your drone, and let me know in the comments below how you get on. Before you go, if you've liked this video and you've learned something new, please let me know by giving me the thumbs up and clicking that like button down below. If you want more tips, tricks, and tutorials about how to get cinematic footage and awesome looking photos with your drone, I have a ton of other content on my channel to help you level up your drone game. If you want to see some more of them videos right now, here's a few I personally recommend. I'll not keep you back any further. Go have lots of fun with your drone. And if you're sticking around to watch them videos, I'll catch you just over there.